get to Candace Owens in Russia, because Candace went to Russia and people are melting down, honey. People are very angry with Candace. So she put the call out first. She said, I heard they don't spit on Christians in Russia or launder billions of our tax dollars on behalf of corrupt politicians. I'm excited to report back my findings. And honestly, the Zionist lore regarding Alexander Dugin, after I replied to him twice on X, is kind of making me want to meet him. The weird Cold War propaganda is played out. It wasn't effective during the media's Russian collusion era, and it's not effective now. St. Petersburg has always been on my bucket list. Never met a Russian I didn't like. People are responding to it. It's ridiculous. Oh my God, she went over there to the Russia country. She went over there. So there is a lot of propaganda. There's propaganda about Russia, China, as you guys know, Iran, a lot of these countries that honestly, they're not really thinking about us like that. They're not afraid of us. They don't want to attack us. It's not even that way. And oftentimes these countries, they have a better lifestyle than we do, especially when you look at their infrastructure. So one of the things that Candace was surprised by was just how beautiful Moscow actually is. And I had students that were from Moscow and they've shown me pictures before. Some of the architecture that exists in these other countries is absolutely astounding when you compare it to architecture here in the United States. When I lived in Germany, like I got to tell you, the train don't just run, but the train runs on time and it's fast. The fact that Europe has had high-speed rail for years and we still don't even have high-speed rail right here in the United States. But guys, they don't want you to travel. They don't want you to use your mind. They don't want you to go to these places and see what it's like for yourself, because then you'll realize they've been lying to you.
I've just been stunned by the beauty. I have not yet been able to run around St. Petersburg because we just got in yesterday, but I was in Moscow, and Moscow was positively stunning. It defied, I didn't really have any expectations, but if I had any, they would have been defied by just how clean, how safe, how beautiful, how historic the city is. I always call it the Cold War hangover, where there's not really an explanation, but they just sort of tell you Russia is a no-no and a no-go. And you, as obviously I'm at an age now where I have to have experiences. I don't just trust the media, because if I did, I wouldn't trust myself. That is another illusion that I would say has been dissipated as well. They love them. They genuinely love Americans. They don't understand why there is this frost, and I wanted them to know that we don't understand it either. We're on opposite sides here, but we're all thinking the same thing, and that is being poorly reflected by our media. It is literally between our media and Russia. It is not the American people. For whatever reason, I think this has been the most triggering trip for the mainstream media, and it has been laughable to see the headlines they're coming up with. It's very easy for me to accept that they're lying when they lie about me. You know, every single article that is written about me it's fiction. I don't even respond really. I always respond with humor, or I kind of make fun of them when they ask questions. Now I don't take them seriously enough to dignify half the things that they're saying with a response. That's a great place to be. It's like watching a cartoon. I tell them, write what to your heart's content, right? Yeah. View it as a creative writing exercise, because you guys have no interest in what the truth is. It would have sufficed to just say Candace is going to Russia on a family vacation, and while she's there, she's going to be speaking on the topic of family at Spieth. They just can't do it. They fall short every single time, and it becomes like the mythology behind Russia. I think what's become increasingly more frustrating is that they don't even think they need to articulate a reason for this is why you shouldn't like Russia, or this is why you should like Ukraine. They've become in their own minds so powerful that it's just a dictation. We are telling you by creed that you should believe this and you should believe that, and we don't feel like it requires any further explanation, and that's no longer working. It may have served in older generations. It's certainly not working amongst the youth. And the more that they try to constrict and to control, the more that they lose a hold of the American mindset. They don't like independent people going out to speak because they know that it can fall outside of their narratives typically, because there's a more genuine pursuit of truth and understanding. And it's hard to reflect. People don't remember because there's so many lies that were told. But at the beginning of the conflict with Ukraine, when I say they didn't even bother to articulate a reason, they were saying basically that Vladimir Putin was sick and he had gone crazy and deranged. That was it. They have to be able to create a caricature of everyone, myself included, right? So he's supposed to be unstable, I guess, unintelligent, angry, and wanting to take over the West.
Okay, guys, after listening to that, I definitely want to visit Moscow. I've been also wanting to visit Tehran for some reason. I think it's because I realized, and I've never been the kind of person who believes any of the propaganda that the West have been putting out there to talk about other countries, because I've known this for a while now. Maybe because they talk about African countries where I have been, about things that was never the truth about those countries. So I kind of knew by the way that it means that if they can do that, they can actually do the exact same things about it. And also because my husband visited Singapore and I visited the Philippines, although I've not been to Singapore. But what I do know is that when you look at Singapore, the way my husband described it, there's no people begging on the street, no homelessness and all that. And even what I've seen in the Philippines, based on what I've seen and based on what I've heard about it in these Western countries, you realize that these people can lie tremendously. So now after listening to Candace, where she went, how clean, and this is not even the first time, because Tucker Carlson was already in Moscow before. I think I've shared on my channel about that interview with Putin that got everybody scratching for their white head and so on. So I'm just so excited for just being able to be the kind of person that actually expose your own country. That's what we are supposed to do. If you belong to a country that does bad things, it's okay to expose them. You can't just say that it's because my country, I'm gonna protect it, right?
I always tell my listeners I'd never run for president. I'd only run for dictator, because I'm not dealing with Congress. I'm not dealing with lobbying. I'm not dealing with any of this. I'm not dealing with Lindsey Graham calling for another war. I'm just going to be here's what we're doing and here's what we're not doing. So I tell them, vote for me if the terms are acceptable, that I will be dictator of the United States, and that is it. But in the short run, I really don't have an interest in running for office, because there is just too much inauthenticity. I would be interested in strongly getting behind someone like Tucker Carlson, though.
By the way, I think Candace Owens needs to run for president of the United States. And I think most Americans will love her dictatorship, to be quite honest, because she's just going to dictate the right things to people, because she's at the center of, just it as an example and be an example.
Kelly